Have you ever looked around your home and thought, this place doesn't feel like me anymore? It feels like it's running me? I know that feeling in my bones. There was a morning when I woke up, sat on the edge of my bed, and instead of feeling rested, I felt surrounded. Every corner was stacked with things, papers I hadn't touched in years, clothes that no longer fit, drawers I didn't dare open. It was as if the walls were closing in on me, and I caught myself whispering, I don't even know where to start. Here's the twist. I didn't spend weeks or months decluttering. I didn't hire an organizer. In fact, I was tired, achy, and certain I didn't have the energy for a big project. Yet, in just 48 hours, my home shifted. Not because I worked harder, but because I learned 7 small tricks that anyone can do. Tricks that turned my heavy house into a lighter, more peaceful place. The truth nobody tells you is this. Clutter isn't just about stuff. For many of us over 60, it's about fear. The fear that letting go means losing control, losing history, even being forgotten. But what I discovered is that decluttering isn't about erasing the past. It's about giving yourself the gift of space to live the life you still have ahead. And that is what I want for you too. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 gentle decluttering tricks. They don't take fancy tools or endless energy. They don't pressure you to throw everything away. Instead, they're about clear decisions, kind habits, and small wins you'll actually feel within 2 days. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll share the one trick that surprised me most, the one that didn't just clear space, but lifted a weight I didn't realize I was carrying in my heart. That's the gem of this whole journey. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. So, let's take a deep breath together. This isn't about a perfect home. It's about finding peace again, one small trick at a time. Let's begin with the very first one, the doorway, the place that sets the tone for everything that follows. Trick 1, the 10-minute doorway declutter. What's the very first thing your home says to you when you walk through the door? For many people, that first step inside is not a greeting, but a sigh. Shoes scattered, coats hanging on chairs, mail piling up on the table. The entrance becomes a weight instead of a welcome. But here's the truth. You don't need hours to fix it. All it takes is 10 minutes. Just set a timer, pick up the shoes, hang the jackets, toss the junk mail, and give that little space, the space that greets you every day, a fresh reset. I'll never forget sitting with Mrs. Lane, a 74-year-old widow in my neighborhood. She told me her doorway used to be what she called the trap. Packages, umbrellas, grocery bags, everything landed there and stayed. She said, every time I opened the door, it felt like the house was sighing at me. One day, she gave herself permission to try just 10 minutes. She hung her coat, put 2 pairs of shoes back, tossed the stack of expired coupons. That evening, when she returned from her walk, she paused and smiled. For the first time in years, she said, my home said, welcome instead of please fix me. Deep down, many of us know this. If the doorway feels messy, we start believing the whole house is out of control. And worse, we sometimes whisper to ourselves that if we can't even manage the front door, maybe we've lost control of more than just clutter. But I found that clearing my doorway was like opening a window in my heart. It reminded me I didn't need to conquer the entire house. I just needed one small win, proof that I was still in charge of my space. As Mrs. Lane laughed, clearing my doorway didn't just make space for me. It made space for life to come in. And she's right. So tonight, why not try it yourself? Spend just 10 minutes at your front door. When you walk back inside, notice the shift. You might be surprised how a single clear space can change the way you see your whole home. You can do this too. And once your entrance feels lighter, Let's move inside to a spot we all sit in every single day, and yet rarely think of as a place where clutter hides. Trick 2. The clear surface reset. What's the one spot in your home that seems to collect everything? Cups, magazines, mail, glasses, even yesterday's sweater? For most of us, it's the coffee table or the kitchen counter. Surfaces are magnets for clutter, and the hard truth is, when the surfaces are messy, the whole room feels messy. But here's the small secret. The reset takes less than 5 minutes. Choose just one surface, clear everything off, wipe it gently, and then put back only what truly belongs. I remember visiting Mrs. Peterson, a 71-year-old grandmother who loved to knit. She told me her living room table was her guilt spot. It was buried under unopened letters, tissues, yarn, and half-finished crossword puzzles. I stopped inviting friends over, she admitted, because I felt like my mess was talking louder than me. One Saturday, her daughter suggested, "Mom, let's clear just this table." They moved every item off, sorted quickly, keep, toss, relocate, and wiped it down. The transformation was instant. Mrs. Peterson touched the empty surface and whispered, "I feel like I can breathe again." The unspoken fear many of us have is that if we let the clutter pile up, it becomes proof that we're slipping, that age is slowly taking away our ability to keep order. But that isn't true. Clearing a single surface is a reminder that you still hold the reins. It doesn't erase history. It simply gives your present a clear stage. I've noticed in my own home when the counter is clear, I don't just see space, I see possibility. As Mrs. Peterson said with a smile, one clean surface feels like a fresh start, no matter your age. And maybe tonight, you can try this too. Pick one small surface, clear it, and enjoy the calm it gives back. You can do this too. And once a surface shines again, it's easier to notice the tiny pauses in your day where clutter sneaks in. That's where the next trick comes in, using waiting time in a way that feels almost magical. Trick 3. The drawer. Do you have that one drawer in your house that feels like a black hole, where scissors, batteries, old receipts, and who knows what disappear? We all do. And here's the trick. Instead of fighting it little by little, sometimes the fastest way forward is to empty it completely. That's the drawer dump. Here's how it works. Pick one drawer, not a whole dresser, not the entire kitchen, just one. Take everything out and place it on a table. Wipe the inside of the drawer clean so it feels fresh and new. Then, before you put anything back, pause. Hold each item and ask, do I use this? Does it make my daily life smoother? If not, it goes into a donate or toss pile. What remains is exactly what serves you now, not what used to serve you 10 years ago. I remember Mrs. Alvarez, a 68-year-old widow, telling me about her kitchen junk drawer. She said, "It was like looking at the history of my exhaustion. Half-dead pens, expired coupons, keys I didn't even remember." She felt guilty throwing them away because each item had once been useful. But her daughter sat with her one afternoon, dumped everything out, and made her laugh by holding up a mystery key and saying, "Mom, if we don't even know what this opens, it doesn't deserve rent in your drawer." By the end of 30 minutes, the drawer was lighter, but so was her spirit. She confessed, "I didn't realize how much anxiety that tiny space gave me until it was clear." The hidden fear for many seniors is that cluttered drawers equal cluttered minds, that one day we won't be able to keep track of what's ours, or worse, lose control over our homes altogether. But the truth is, a drawer dump isn't just cleaning. It's reclaiming a sense of order, one small space at a time. Personally, I find that when I clear a drawer, it's not just about scissors or paper clips. It's about proving to myself that clarity is still possible, even in a messy season of life. Mrs. Alvarez said something beautiful. When I opened that drawer the next morning, it felt like it was smiling at me. Just one drawer, but it reminded me I can still reset my life. And you can do this too. So maybe today, pick just one drawer and give yourself the gift of starting fresh. Not everything, not the whole house, just one drawer. It's enough. And once that drawer feels new again, you'll start to notice how clutter hides in plain sight too. That's why the next trick focuses on what happens when you reset the space you see most often, right before you go to bed. Trick 4. The one bag rule. What if I told you that you don't need to declutter your whole house at once? You just need one bag? That's the one bag rule. Here's how it works. You grab one bag, paper, plastic, or even a reusable tote, and you challenge yourself to fill it with things you no longer need. That's it. One bag at a time. Maybe today it's old magazines, tomorrow it's clothes you haven't worn in years, and next week it's kitchen gadgets hiding in the back of the drawer. The bag becomes a boundary. Once it's full, you stop. No guilt, no marathon. I remember sitting with Mrs. Thompson, who's 72 and lives alone after her husband passed. She told me, "Every time I looked at my garage, I felt like crying. It was too much. But when I started with just one bag, I thought, I can do this." And before I knew it, 10 bags had left my house. She laughed and added, "Each bag wasn't just junk leaving. It was a weight off my shoulders." The quiet fear behind clutter is this. If we face it, it might reveal how much time has passed, how much we've held on to, how many goodbyes we've avoided. Many seniors worry that letting go means erasing their story. But the truth is, the one bag rule doesn't erase memories. It simply lifts the burden so the memories can breathe again. From my own experience, I've noticed that decluttering doesn't feel so scary when it has a limit. One bag is achievable. One bag feels safe. And with every bag, you're not just clearing space. You're proving to yourself that you're still in charge of your home, your choices, your life. As Mrs. Thompson put it so beautifully, that bag was more than clutter. It was proof that I could still change my home, one choice at a time. So maybe today, instead of saying, "I'll declutter the whole house," just say, "I'll fill one bag." You'll be amazed how even a single bag can make your home feel lighter and your heart a little freer. And you can do this too. If you try this, I'd love to hear. What's the first thing you'd put in your bag? Share it in the comments. Your story might give courage to someone else. And speaking of courage, the next trick is all about finding it not in bags or bins, but in the rhythm of time itself. Just 15 minutes that can shift your entire day. Let's move to that next. Trick 5, the Do It Now test. Let me ask you something. How many times have you seen a cup on the table, a scarf on the chair, or a bill by the door and thought, "I'll deal with it later"? Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And suddenly, your home feels heavier than you ever meant it to be. That's where the Do It Now test comes in. It's simple. When you touch something or notice something out of place, ask yourself, can I do this in under 2 minutes? If the answer is yes, do it now. Put the cup in the sink. Hang the scarf back in the closet. Toss the junk mail straight into the recycling. These tiny actions take seconds, but when stacked together, they keep your home from ever falling into chaos. I think of Mrs. Reynolds, 74, who once told me, "The worst part wasn't the mess itself. It was the way it stared at me all day," reminding me I hadn't done it. She started using the Do It Now test, and she said something that stuck with me. For the first time in years, I felt like the house wasn't bossing me around. I was the one in charge. The unspoken fear many of us carry, especially as we get older, is that the mess will outpace our energy, that one day we'll wake up and the home we love will feel unmanageable. But here's the truth. The Do It Now test turns those small, nagging chores into victories. Each one is proof that you still have the power to shape your space, no matter your age or energy. From my own experience, I've realized that the heaviness of clutter doesn't come from the size of the mess. It comes from the unfinished tasks we drag around in our minds. When you do it now, you're not just tidying your home, you're clearing that invisible weight too. As another woman in her 60s once told me, I thought I needed a big cleaning day. What I really needed was 30 seconds of courage in small moments. So maybe tonight, instead of walking past that little pile by the door, pause and ask yourself, can I do this now? You'll be surprised how quickly your home begins to feel calmer, simply because nothing lingers. And yes, you can do this too. If you give this test a try, I'd love to know, what's the first do-it-now moment you'll tackle? Share it below. It might be exactly the push someone else needs. And speaking of small pushes, the next trick is all about harnessing the rhythm of your day, not in hours, but in natural pauses you already have. Let's explore that next. Trick 6, the memory box. Here's a question for you. What do you do with the things that hold your heart but clutter your shelves? The letters, old photos, a tiny gift from someone long gone, objects that feel too heavy to keep everywhere but too precious to simply let go? That's where the memory box comes in. It's not complicated. You take one sturdy box, not too big, something you can carry with ease, and choose only the most meaningful items to place inside. The rule is simple. If it fits in the box, it stays. If it doesn't, you ask yourself whether it truly belongs in your life now. This way, your memories have a home, and the rest of your space can breathe again. I remember visiting Mrs. Collins, 78, who told me her bedroom used to be filled with stacks of old greeting cards, drawers full of knickknacks, and boxes from her children's school years. She said, I was living in a storage unit of my own memories. When her daughter suggested creating a memory box, she resisted at first. But one quiet afternoon, she sat down with a shoebox and chose the things that made her smile most. A photo of her wedding day, one card her husband wrote, her granddaughter's first drawing. She told me afterward, for the first time, I felt like my memories were safe, and I could finally rest in my own home again. And here's the truth, many of us don't say out loud. The fear of forgetting, or of being forgotten, can make us hold on too tightly to things. But when everything becomes a memory object, nothing truly stands out. A memory box teaches us that love and history aren't stored in piles of paper or dusty trinkets. They live in us, and in the few treasures we choose with care. From my own experience, I've found this practice to be both freeing and tender. It's not about erasing the past, it's about curating it. When you know where your keepsakes belong, you also know your daily space can stay clear, uncluttered, and welcoming. And that clarity gives you back energy for the life you're still living. As one senior woman once said to me, I thought my children would only remember me through my things. But then I realized they remember me through the stories I share while showing them what's in the box. That's the real gift, turning clutter into connection. So maybe tonight, pick one small box and allow yourself to place a few treasures inside. It's not letting go. It's honoring what matters most. And yes, you can do this too. If you decide to start, I'd love to know, what's the very first item you would place in your memory box? Share it below. It might remind someone else of their own hidden treasures. And speaking of treasures, the next trick is about discovering peace not in what you keep, but in how you end each day. Let's move there together. Trick 7, the evening reset. Let me ask you something simple. How do you end your day? Do you crawl into bed with dishes in the sink, papers scattered on the table, and slippers lying somewhere under a chair? Or do you close the day with a small gesture that tells both your home and your heart, we are ready for tomorrow? The evening reset isn't about a marathon cleanup. It's about 5 or 10 minutes of gentle actions, returning items to their places, folding the blanket on the couch, wiping the counter, and setting one glass of water by the bedside. Think of it as a lullaby for your home, a soft goodbye to the day. When you wake up in the morning, instead of being greeted by yesterday's chaos, you step into a space that already feels calm, prepared, and welcoming. I remember sitting with Mrs. Lee, 72, who told me, "I used to wake up already tired, because the mess from yesterday was the first thing I saw." After her doctor encouraged her to create small evening rituals, she began the evening reset. She described it as the moment her house finally started working with her, not against her. She said, "I don't go to bed carrying unfinished tasks anymore. My mind rests when my home rests." And isn't that what many of us quietly fear? That as we age, life will slip more and more out of our control? That we'll lose the ability to keep up, and the house will slowly take over us? The evening reset is a way of answering that fear, gently but firmly. It reminds us that we can still lead our space with intention, even if it's just through 3 or 4 small steps each night. Personally, I've noticed that when I do my own reset, folding the dish towel, clearing the coffee table, I sleep better, not because the room is perfect, but because it isn't pulling at me with unfinished whispers. A tidy space gives permission for a tidy mind. A dear friend in her late 70s told me once, "I don't end my day with exhaustion anymore. I end it with completion." That sentence stayed with me, because completion is not about doing everything. It's about closing the circle of today so you can open tomorrow fresh. So tonight, try setting a gentle timer. Choose 3 small things to reset before bed. Maybe it's placing your shoes neatly, rinsing the teacup, or straightening a chair. You'll be amazed at how light you feel when you wake up, and you can do this too. If you begin this habit, I'd love to know which 3 things will be part of your evening reset. Share them below. You never know who you might encourage. And now that we've reached the last trick, let's bring everything together in a closing reflection, a gentle reminder that you don't need a lifetime of energy, just a handful of habits to keep your home and heart clear. Let's move into that. You don't need 48 hours of exhausting labor to change your home. You only need 48 hours of clear, kind decisions. Simple steps that remind you that you're still in charge of your space, and your space can give back peace to you. Remember this: you're not throwing away your life. You're making space to live it more fully. Every drawer you clear, every surface you reset, every little bag you fill is not about loss. It's about opening the door to more freedom, more calm, more ease in your everyday. So let me ask you gently, which trick will you try first? Share it below. You might inspire someone else who feels stuck today. Sometimes the smallest story you share is exactly what another person needs to hear. And before we close, I want to leave you with this reminder. You're not behind. You're simply ready. And you can do this too. Until next time, be kind to your space, and even kinder to yourself.